Utah State is getting geared up for the 11th bowl game in the last 13 years, as the Aggies will play in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl against Georgia State in the first ever meeting between the two programs. Hi everybody, I'm Jesse Kurtz here in the Mountain West Network studio. This Bowl Blitz brought to you by Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Who better to bring in for some insight on the Utah State Aggies than the voice of Utah State athletics, Scott Garrard. Scott, appreciate you making time for us. Happy holidays.
Always a pleasure, Jesse. Happy holidays to you and your family as well.
Well, let's talk about these Aggies here. This will be the final game for quarterback Levi Williams in his career. He was, coincidentally, the 2021 offensive MVP of the Potato Bowl when he led Wyoming to a win over Kent State. Now, last month, Williams decided he would not return for his senior season next year. Rather, he was going to apply for Navy SEAL training. What is it about his DNA that he would make such a selfless and patriotic decision like this?
You know, honestly, this has been one of the greatest stories around this Utah State football team this year. But if you back up a little bit further, when he transferred to Utah State, obviously he had goals of being the starting quarterback. That didn't work out. He ended up being the third string quarterback for the majority of the year. And he told coach about game 3, game 4, I just want to be out on the field. I love this team. I love being on the field. I just want to be a part of this team in some way, shape, or form. Jesse, he was playing in every special teams unit. He was a gunner on kickoffs. He was on point after protect. This guy just wants to play football. He wanted to be out on the field. And so even though he wasn't playing quarterback, he still had a huge role on this team. And then as attrition started to build up with injuries with the quarterback position, he got thrust into the role, and Utah State had to win that game against New Mexico to get bowl eligible, and he leads the team to a huge victory. Obviously a tremendous story. But the Navy SEAL thing has been something that's been in the works for a while. He's kept it quiet until after the game and decided to tell everybody, and then the story really blew up nationally. But his family is military. His mom was in the military. His grandparents were in the military. It's something he's always wanted to do and really felt like this was the time. His girlfriend, now his fiance, they'll be married in March, is on the volleyball team. Her career is done at Utah State. And so he felt like this was the time to really embrace this goal and really serve his country. And now remember, this isn't, sitting at a desk job. This is Navy SEAL. I mean, this is the baddest of the baddest dudes on the planet right there. And I can't think of anybody on the planet I want protecting me and my family in this country more than Levi Williams. Just a tremendous story, great human being, and a fantastic person.
It really is. I looked it up because I was curious what the Navy SEAL physical screening test was. Here's the minimum standard: a 500-yard swim in 12 and a half minutes, followed by 42 push-ups in 2 minutes, 50 sit-ups in 2 minutes, 6 pull-ups, followed by a 1.5 mile run in 11 minutes. That's all with minimum rest in between. And that's just the minimum to see if you can qualify for more rigorous training. So hats off to Levi Williams. We appreciate his sacrifice and his decision.
Jesse, that's what you call Tuesday morning, though, for you, right? I mean, come on.
Don't I wish? Let's talk about Aggies wide receiver Jalen Royals. He's had a sensational season in Logan this year. He's got 68 passes for over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns, named All-Mountain West and received All-America honors. He's the first Utah State wide receiver to do that since Kevin Kurtz in 2001. What did Royals do this season that made him so productive for that offense?
It's been a tremendous story. And again, we talk about storylines with these players. This is a guy who showed up out of nowhere for a camp a couple of years ago, was playing at the Georgia Military Academy, and showed up to a free camp for a free, essentially, tryout, and ran a 4.3 and then a 4.33 because they didn't believe that the clock was right on the first timer. So they made him run it again. He ran a 4.33. They ran him through some drills and offered him a scholarship right there on the spot. And last year he kind of learned and developed, and then this year he's just blown up. A lot of the attention early on the season was on Terrell Vaughn. That's the guy we anticipated would have the blowout season. And he had a great season, make no mistake. I mean, he had a fantastic year. But Jalen Royals is a deep threat. He's got that 4.3 speed, plus he's got remarkable hands. So many of those touchdowns that you mentioned were 50 yards or more because he's able to extend the field, one-on-one coverage. If he's even, he's leaving, is what they say, because there's no doubt that he can just expose you on man-to-man coverage. And when defenses started to adjust, then Utah State ran more crossing routes, underneath routes, things to really get him more involved. There's so many things that he can do. His game is so versatile, and the fact that Utah State has been, he made the announcement he's coming back for next season. This Utah State offense is going to be really special next year with him coming back, and this Utah State offense largely coming back intact next year. But again, hard worker. He's very quiet. Is all about his craft. He's not a big vocal guy out on the field, just goes out, does his job, and lets his play speak for him. And it's just been fantastic to watch him as a inexperienced, just feet wet, not knowing what he's doing, to what he is now, a bona fide NFL caliber wide receiver. Has been fantastic to watch.
Yeah, Blake Anderson is so innovative with players like him, and will be on record watch during this bowl game. His 14 touchdown receptions tied for the most in single season Utah State history. One more would be a program record. All right, another player for Utah State that received postseason All-America honors, safety Ike Larson. He's a really good one as well. Did it all for Utah State on defense and special teams. 91 tackles, 4 interceptions, 2 block kicks. What does it mean to have a player who was raised in the Cache Valley achieve that amount of success in a Utah State Aggies uniform?
It's just different. When you bring a player in from Texas or California or wherever and he blows up, you have that, fans have that affinity and that connection because he plays for your school. But when it's a guy that you watched in high school, played at Skyview High School, just a little north of Logan in Smithfield, and you see him commit to the school and commit to the university and commit to the community. He does a lot of community outreach things as well. Has a lot of great NIL opportunities with some of the local businesses. It just is it hits a little different. And this community has really embraced Ike Larson. Ike Larson's really embraced the community. And it is something that has really allowed him and this community to have such great pride in each other. He has really embraced the hometown hero kind of feel, and for good reason too, because Cache Valley is very unique in that regard. If you embrace it, they will embrace you 100-fold. And to have one of your own have that kind of success. I was talking to Matt Wells, who's the former coach now, former coach at Texas Tech, now on the Oklahoma staff. And he talked about when he would have camps at Utah State for elementary school kids, he was always the fastest 7th grader. He was the fastest 8th grader, you knew immediately this kid was going to be special, and he has lived up to the hype. And from a defensive player, we talked about him as a person, but as a player, it's just been remarkable. His ball hawking ability, his anticipation, key interceptions. You mentioned the block kicks. He's got 4 overall in his career at Utah State. None bigger than that block extra point against UConn to save that game earlier in the season. He makes play after play after play, and it's just been an incredible story here in Cache Valley to watch him develop as not only a player, but as a man and an ambassador for this valley.
He is the complete package. There's no question about that. Scotty, I appreciate the insights. Happy holidays to you and your wonderful family, and safe travels to Boise for the Potato Bowl.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jesse.
You bet. That's Scott Garrard, the voice of the Utah State Aggies. This Bowl Blitz been brought to you by Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. By the way, you can watch Utah State and Georgia State in the Famous Idaho Potato Bowl Saturday, December 23rd. Kickoff from Albertson Stadium set for 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. It'll be televised by ESPN. From the Mountain West Network studio, I'm Jesse Kurtz.